Health isn't just medicine, it's about shaping a better future for everyone. At UNSW, we're at the pinnacle of medical and health education, with our faculty ranked amongst the best in the world. From clinical practice to public health initiatives, you'll be equipped to innovate in an evolving healthcare environment, including patient care and research, changing the lives of individuals, communities and populations.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our 2024 UNSW Medicine Information Evening. My name is Adrienne Torda and I am the Interim Dean of the Faculty of Medicine and Health here at UNSW. Tonight we are going to be covering information that's relevant to domestic applicants for our medicine program. If you are an international student, I recommend you join our international specific event running on the 28th of March. What we'll share is mostly relevant to those who are thinking of applying this year to start in 2025. So if you happen to be a little bit younger or not planning on applying till later, we're still really pleased to have you. Do stay with us, but keep that in mind, that things do change a little bit year to year. We recommend that you watch future years' information sessions as well. Before we get into our session, it's important that we acknowledge country. I respectfully acknowledge the Bachelor people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land where I am on our Kensington campus, which you can see on your screen. I also pay my respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to the First Nations people joining us tonight. UNSW is a university with a really strong reputation. We are a top university worldwide. QS, one of the major respected ranking systems, places us at 19th in the world. Our graduates are some of the most employable out there. The Australian Financial Review has recognised us as the most employable university in the country for 5 years running. We also have a strong reputation for innovation, with more startup founders having studied at UNSW than anywhere else. Our medicine and health faculty specifically also has a really strong reputation. We bring together excellence in teaching and research to address the most significant health challenges the world faces. It's one of the best in the world, also recognised by QS. Our research is world-class, particularly in areas like cancer, neuroscience, mental health, addiction, infectious diseases and non-communicable disease. Our medicine degree that we're talking about tonight has been the most in-demand degree in the state for 7 years running. We also have our incredible new Randwick Health and Innovation Precinct, which is a $1.5 billion project which joins UNSW up with 4 hospitals in Randwick. The building you can see here is UNSW's new Health Translation Hub, which is currently under construction and is set to be built by 2025. The HTH will integrate health, education, training and research with acute healthcare services, delivering better health outcomes to the patients, carers and the New South Wales community. We will be having our new teaching spaces for our students that hopefully you'll be able to experience when you start with us. In the faculty, we know now more than ever that we need a range of health professionals, clinicians and otherwise, to prepare for the future of health. From the epidemic of obesity to global ageing and the resurgence of communicable diseases, the critical health issues facing our modern world create numerous and diverse needs that our faculty addresses in order to drive real-world change. We're here to talk about our medicine program, but I also wanted to show you some other degrees at UNSW where our graduates are critical in driving better health outcomes. In the clinical space, you can study to become an exercise physiologist, a physiotherapist, a dietitian, a pharmacist, or an optometrist. Outside of this, careers like public health, medicine, and vision sciences all play key roles too. So I'd encourage you to also consider some of those fields as well when choosing to study in medicine and health. UNSW Medicine and Health aims to develop compassionate innovators and global leaders in health through transformative education and learning experiences. The actions we set in motion here will be felt across Australia's health landscape for the years to come. So thank you for joining us online tonight, and I hope to see you on campus next year. I will now pass on to Lena from the Future Students team, who will take you through the rest of the evening's presentation.
Thank you, Adi. My name is Lena Kaligaros, and I'm part of the Future Students team here at UNSW, and I work closely with people who are thinking about studying in medicine and health. We'll be starting off with a program overview, including showing you inside our Clinical Skills Centre and one of our rural teaching campuses. We'll then get into the admissions process and pathways to studying medicine, which I know you're all keen to hear. And finally, you'll hear from our MedSoc president and another fourth-year medicine student around their experience, support, and student life. Along the way, you can also ask questions through the Microsoft Teams chat. At the end, we'll have a Q&A session to answer these questions, and we also have a few advisors replying in the chat. I'll also mention that the session will be recorded and shared afterwards, and we will add closed captions to that video. That's all from me now. I'm excited to introduce Associate Professor Sean Kennedy. Sean is the Program Authority for our Bachelor of Medical Studies Doctor of Medicine program in the Faculty of Medicine and Health. He's an awarded educator and researcher and plays a key role in the medicine degree.
Thank you, Lena. Good evening, everyone, or afternoon or morning, whenever you're watching this. I'm very happy to be here today talking to you all, and I want to give you an overview of what studying medicine at the University of New South Wales is like and what it's about. Importantly, when you graduate from our 6-year program, you'll graduate with a dual degree, with 2 degrees. There's a Bachelor in Medical Studies and a Doctor of Medicine. And it's really divided into the three years. The first 3 years contribute to the bachelor's, and then the MD comes from the second. But the full 6 years join together. And the way that we have divided up the teaching and learning is into 3 phases. And the style of learning that you have in each of the phases is slightly different. In phase 1, where we've taken most of you straight from high school, you get that introduction to some of the biological sciences, biomedical sciences, and social sciences, which lay the foundation for working as a doctor. But at the same time that you're learning the sciences, you'll also be learning the clinical skills, the communication skills, the physical examination that we use all the time as doctors. And so it's a very integrated course, and it's integrated mainly through scenario group teaching. So you're getting real life scenarios about patients, about healthcare situations. And while you're learning it, while you're working through the scenarios, you're learning the basic sciences and the clinical sciences. It's also integrated between 2 years. So for most of the courses, not for the first one in the year, but for the others then, when you're learning, if you're in first year, some of the students in your scenario groups will be in second year. That's the first 2 years of the program, phase 1. Then you move into third year, which is the beginning of phase 3. Phase 3 is much more time spent in the healthcare setting. So during the first 2 years, you'll spend some time in hospitals, but in year 3, you'll spend the majority of your time in health settings, mainly hospitals. And I'll talk more about the teaching hospitals that we have on offer. But at the same time, you'll have lectures, tutorials, lab sessions, where you'll still be going over those basic and clinical sciences, but all the time integrated with clinical learning. The second half of phase 2, which is year 4, I'll talk more about in the next slide, but that's a very specialised year where you do more research. But once you come back from the research year, you go into phase 3. And phase 3 has a bit more of that traditional medical teaching, where most of it's in hospitals, where you'll be attached to teams and you rotate through various different specialties. So you may do 8 weeks where you're working in psychiatry and learning about psychiatry. And then the next 8 weeks, it'll be in women's health, obstetrics, gynecology, and so forth over the 2 years. And then at the end of the 6th year, of course, there are final exams. But we have examinations all the way through, and we have what we call a portfolio that monitors your learning all the way through the 6 years. So let's go back now to the year 4. So year 4 is an important year where you learn and practice, particularly research skills. That sounds a little bit daunting sometimes for people. They think, well, how do I do research when I'm only a 4th year medical student? But it's a very structured and well-supported year. But it's also a great year for expanding your interests because you have the opportunity to choose research projects with research supervisors who are experienced supervisors and researchers from all of our campuses. And you can concentrate on learning how we do research, how we interpret research, how we communicate research. There's two arms. Most students will go into the honours that year. So their research project will also be linked with some coursework that they do. And then when they graduate, they'll graduate with a Bachelor of Science Med honours. But other students will also do research that year and will contribute to the same 4th year learning, but it's as an independent learning project. And there's plenty of help in 2nd and 3rd year to help you choose which path is best for you and which project suits you the best. So that's the 6 years that you spend at UNSW, but that's only the beginning of your path to being a doctor, and whatever type of doctor you end up being. Because in New South Wales and Australia, to get full registration, you need to do 1 year in hospitals as supervised practice as an intern. And then beyond that, then you go into more vocational training where you'll what we call specialise. Now that specialisation could be in general practice. It could be in one of the many medical or surgical specialties, or it could be going off into other careers. But for whatever you do, one of the beauties and one of the really things that is attractive about medicine as a career is that you never stop learning. Sure, you get past the exams and you don't have to keep doing exams and sitting in lectures all the time, but you always are a learner. And that's one of the really important things that we teach our students during those 6 years, how to be a lifelong learner. So what are some of those specializations and careers? So these are in Australia, mostly run by colleges, and there's College of Physicians, the College of Surgeons. Within the College of Physicians, you can do pediatrics, you can do all of the adult specialties like oncology, gastroenterology, neurology, all those ologies. There's other colleges which oversee training in anaesthetics, in obstetrics and gynecology, emergency medicine, radiology, medical imaging, or pathology. And there's the non-clinical careers where you're not necessarily working all the time with patients, but you can have a massive impact on the health of patients and society in general. Things like public health and medical management, looking after hospitals and making sure hospitals run right, which is not an easy job. Medical research in any of the vast fields of research, policy making, and passing more on to the next generation of education. And importantly, you can have a career mainly in medical education or research, but even if you have some of those careers in the top lines, you'll still be doing education and research while you're working as a clinician. Our program, of course, is an undergraduate program. You start with a bachelor's degree, and we're usually taking students straight from school. We take you through, as we said, a stepwise integration from learning the basic sciences to integrating it with clinical sciences. Also, what you're learning all those 6 years is how to be a university student, because being a student at university is very different to being a student in high school. And then when you graduate, you're finished. You're ready to be registered as a doctor to do that internship. Other universities offer postgraduate programs where you would have had to do a previous bachelor's degree in a different specialty, not a medical degree, maybe a medical science degree. We take a small number of students from our medical sciences degree into medicine, but it's a very small number each year, and they enter into our 3rd year. One of the really fun and, again, those diverse things about UNSW is that where you learn, we have great opportunities around New South Wales. Where I'm talking from today is at the Kensington campus. And just next door to the Kensington campus, literally across the road, is the Randwick Health Innovation Precinct. And on campus there, we have Prince of Wales Hospital, we have Sydney Children's Hospital, we have the Royal Hospital for Women. These are all world-leading hospitals that are providing care across the spectrum from birth, from cradle to grave, as we say. Elsewhere in Sydney, and not very far away, easy to get to by public transport, St Vincent's Hospital, St George Hospital, Sutherland Hospital, the South Western Sydney campus, which includes the really big, really important, really busy hospitals, Liverpool Hospital, Campbelltown Hospital, Bankstown Hospital, Fairfield Hospital. These are all the hospitals that you'll learn at in Sydney. Our rural students have the potential for starting from first year in Port Macquarie or Wagga Wagga. But the rural students can then, beyond phase 1, can also do their learning in Coffs Harbour, in Albury Wodonga, and some of the rotations in Griffith Hospital. And students who aren't via the Rural Entry Scheme will also have the opportunity to spend time in some of these rural areas. So you can see one of the attractive things about UNSW is a lot of the campuses are in great spots. So you can have a great extracurricular activities wherever you're based. Some more information will be given about the on-site, about the rural campuses at the dates listed on the screen. So I just want to end in closing that medicine, as we said, is the start of a lifetime degree by studying with us. It's a challenge to get into. It'll be challenging to complete the course. It's not easy, and we don't make apologies for that. And the selection is sometimes appears really difficult, but we don't make apologies for that either, because we select students that we think have what it takes to succeed in our course, but also, more importantly, have what it takes to go on to be great doctors and really make a difference in the lives of individuals and society as a whole. So I wish you all good luck. And now we'll just go up the other end of our campus, back to the Wallaceworth building where Anna is.
Thanks, Sean. My name's Anna and I'm the Faculty Recruitment Officer here in the Faculty of Medicine and Health. And I'm joined here today with 2 medicine students, Kelly, who's in her 4th year, and Sarup, who's in his 3rd. We're currently in the Clinical Skills Centre here on campus, and this is where Phase 1 students spend a lot of their time. So Kelly, I'll start off with you. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about what you did in this space?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our Clinical Skills Centre, where undergraduate 1st and 2nd year students, so Phase 1 students here at UNSW Medicine, they get to practice clinical skills in this space.
Great. And when you say clinical skills, what does that mean?
Yeah, so clinical skills include history-taking skills as well as examination skills. And for example, if you're not sure what a cardiovascular exam is, you'll learn that in this space, and then you can practice with patients and build your confidence with clinical skills.
Wonderful. And how many students are in this space usually?
So approximately 20 students in this space, but because there are a lot of mentors and tutors that can help you out, oftentimes students will be split in groups of 3 to 4. So that really helps with providing an experience in an environment where they feel supported and they feel like they can be mentored sufficiently.
Yeah, great. And who are the tutors who are in here?
So the tutors are often Phase 3 students, and Phase 3, that means year 5 and 6. And these students are often ones that come back and want to teach and give back to the community.
Are you thinking about coming back?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come back and teach.
Yeah, wonderful. So Sarup, we mentioned patients. Do you interact with real patients in here?
So in here, we typically interact with simulated patients. So they're basically volunteers from the public who come down and role play as patients for us to practice our history-taking skills as well as clinical examinations.
Yeah, fabulous. And what was that like the first time you interacted with patients?
It definitely was very nerve-wracking the first time I did it because I wasn't very confident about my ability to elicit information from them and confidently execute my examinations. But as the terms went by, I definitely became a lot more confident, and I felt like that has really transferred well into a hospital setting as well.
Yeah, great. And Kelly, although it was a while ago, what was the first interaction like? Can you remember?
Yeah, I do agree with Sarup. It is a bit nervous the first time that you interact with a patient, But what comes with practice is that you become more confident. And something that's very special about being able to utilize a space like this is the fact that you can build that human connection and build that rapport with patients so that you feel more confident when you're in hospital.
Yeah, amazing. And I think that's so great that you do it so early on to prepare you for when you're in hospital. So it's not only important to interact with patients face to face, but we found out of the COVID-19 pandemic, telehealth is just growing and doctors have to meet patients online. So what do you do, Sarup, in phase 1 to prepare you for telehealth?
So in phase 1, we have this platform called the OSPIA, which stands for the Online Simulated Patient Interaction and Assessment Platform, where we managed to book like 15-minute appointments with simulated patients as well. And we basically conduct a history-taking session online.
Yeah, fabulous. And I can imagine it's very different online to in person. So what are some of the skills you need to have for that?
So I think definitely maintaining a certain degree of formality is important because you're doing it out of the comfort of your own home. So you tend to lose track sometimes. And it's a lot harder to pick up on nonverbal cues such as body language on an online platform because you can't really read these things when you're not in the same room as the person. But over time, you definitely get used to it, and it also allows you to improve on your history-taking skills significantly because you don't have the opportunity to rely on these nonverbal cues. So I think it's definitely been a useful tool for my learning.
Yeah, great. And since you can do it from home, how do you get feedback on what you've done?
So the platform has an inbuilt feedback system where we input our own reflections on the session, as well as the patient who would input their feedback and gradings of how we performed during the session as well.
No way. So you hear from the patient about how you did?
Yes, we do. And it's especially very helpful because it's very useful feedback that we get from them, and we can always take that feedback and apply it into our subsequent sessions in the future.
Yeah, wonderful. So I know that first year students in our program are also given opportunity to interact with people in the community. So Kelly, can you talk a bit more about that?
Absolutely. So in our first year, we're given the opportunity to speak with mothers who have gone through the experience of pregnancy and giving birth. And that allows us to learn those lived experiences of those members in the community. So they'll come online, it's a session called Bumps and Bundles, and they talk to us about their experience, and we can learn what it's like to be a new mother and learn all those intricacies that we might not get if we didn't have that session.
Yeah, great. And I think that's great interacting with them before they become patients in a hospital as well.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So as Sean already mentioned, phase 1 students don't just learn clinical skills on campus. We also go into hospital very early on. So Kelly, how often were you in hospital in your phase 1?
Yeah, absolutely. So in our phase 1, which is our first year and second year, we are at hospital approximately once a fortnight. And essentially that alternates with our sessions here at the Clinical Skills Centre. So oftentimes you'll have a Clinical Skills Centre session, and then you'll learn and apply that skill to hospital the next week. So that system really allows you to learn from a very early stage how to be a better clinician.
Yeah, amazing. I can definitely see how that could help you going into hospital, and then you can go and chat about those experiences in the Clinical Skills Centre with the students. So Sarup, I know you're in the start of your third year, so you just finished phase 1.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about the rotation, clinical rotation that you're on now, and how the skills you've learned in the centre have helped with that?
Yeah. So currently I'm in my obstetrics and gynecology rotation at the St. George Hospital. So in terms of how the skills I've learned here have helped, with all the experience I've accumulated throughout phase 1, practicing in the Clinical Skills Centre repeatedly, running through history-taking skills and clinical examinations, I've developed a certain degree of confidence in being able to perform them. And I think that has really reflected well on me in terms of my performance in the hospital setting as well, because I feel significantly more adept now.
Yeah, fabulous. And Kelly, you just finished your third year. So can you tell us about the different rotations you went on and what was your favourite?
So some of the really great aspects of third year at UNSW Medicine is the fact that we get to rotate through so many different specialties. So we go through 6 specialties during the whole year. Some of my favorites included obstetrics and gynecology because we were actually able to interact with the mothers and, for example, look at the fetal heart rate and monitor that on the patients. So being able to have that hands-on experience I thought was so valuable. But some of the other ones that we went through included cardiology, respiratory, palliative care. So we do really get a taste of everything, and I think it's so great to be able to see potentially what you might want to do and specialise in the future.
Yeah, amazing. So it sounds like, Sarup, you have a good year to look forward to, a lot of different rotations. So Thank you both for joining me today. It was so fantastic to hear about how early clinical experiences start in the medicine program, and I'm sure that everyone watching from home also found this session useful. So thank you once again, and we'll throw back over to you, Lena.
Thanks, Sean and Anna, for taking us through the detail of our medicine degree and going into detail about the clinical exposure in our program. Now that you have an insight about the experiences our students get at our Kensington campus in Sydney, I'm going to pass over to Anna, who is in her third year studying at the Wagga Wagga Rural Clinical Campus. She will take you through a day in the life as a rural medical student. Over to you, Anna.
Hi, my name is Anna and I'm in my third year of the medicine program studying here at the Wagga Wagga campus. Today I will be taking you with me through a day of classes and placements and showing you what we get up to. Let's go. Some students like me study the full 6 years in a rural campus, whereas others come here in their later years. We also have Kensington students come and do placements in Wagga, so everyone has an opportunity to study rurally at UNSW. I'm heading into my tutorial. Today we will be learning the basics of labour and delivery. The simulation lab is what we use for clinical skills, so learning how to interact with patients. We use mannequins to simulate emergency situations in a controlled environment, so we are prepared for ED scenarios. Our sim man and sim baby can cry, sweat, speak to us, and even change heart rate and blood pressure. Here is our anatomy room. We use the anatomage table, specimens, and other models during our anatomy and pathology classes. Because our cohort is small, everyone knows each other. We hang out in the lunchroom between classes or placement, and you may even witness the odd table tennis rivalry. Here's some of our admin staff. It's great to see their smiling faces when you walk into the RCS. Wagga Wagga Base Hospital has recently been redeveloped. It is the medical hub for the Riverina region, with specialists practicing locally to support the community. I'm about to head to my placement in the hospital theatres. My current rotation is obstetrics. I'll see you when I'm out. I've just finished my placement for today, and I got to scrub in on a caesarean section, assisting the registrar and senior resident to deliver the baby. It was so special to be a part of this pivotal time in a family's life. Now I'm done with my classes and placement. I'm going to go grab some fish and chips and head off to the Wagga Beach to cool off after a big day. Thanks for joining me today.
Now that we know more about the degree and you've seen what it's like to learn across our campuses, we're going to get into how to apply to medicine at UNSW. I'll take you through the medicine admissions process, as well as our entry schemes and pathways to get into the program. As mentioned earlier, this application process is only for our domestic applicants. A reminder, if you are an international applicant, we'll be holding our International Information Evening on the 28th of March. A local student is anyone who is an Australian or New Zealand citizen or an Australian permanent resident or permanent humanitarian visa holder. There are 4 steps to applying as a local applicant. Sit the UKAT ANZ, apply to UNSW through the Medicine Application Portal, and 3, submit your UAC application and preferences, and 4, if selected, interview. So there are 2 applications, MAP and UAC, and 3 selection criteria, selection rank, UKAT ANZ and interview. Now let's get going into these a little bit more. Your selection rank is your ATAR plus any adjustment factors, which for medicine would be through UAC's Educational Access Scheme, EAS. The median and lowest selection rank for those who received an offer this year provide an indication of the scores required for entry next year. For local applicants, the median was 99.75 and the lowest was 97.53. For rural, the median was 97.15 and the lowest was 91.30. There are no prerequisite subjects. We assume you have achieved at least a band 4 in English to help you communicate and research effectively. Chemistry is recommended. If you are eligible for the Educational Access Scheme, your ATAR will be adjusted. No other adjustment factors are accepted for medicine. Now let's talk about the University Clinical Aptitude Test for Australia and New Zealand, the UKAT ANZ. Again, the median and lowest scores from 2024 give you an idea of what might be required in 2025. For local applicants, the median was 3180 and the lowest was 3050. For rural, the median was 2750 and the lowest was 2550. The UKAT ANZ is a computer-based test done at Pearson VUE testing centres. Multiple sessions are available throughout July and early August across Australia and overseas. Results are given immediately after the test. There are no medical questions in the tests. There are 5 unique sections, individually timed, one right after the other. UNSW currently does not include the situational judgment mark. We do not recommend third-party preparation courses. These can be, in fact, detrimental to your performance. Free practice questions and helpful resources are available on the official UKAT ANZ website. We recommend to register for the UKAT ANZ even if you're unsure about medicine, just to keep your options open. Our medicine interviews are intended to get to know you as a person. They are structured interview over a limited time. There are 2 interviewers on the panel, usually one a doctor and one a community member. Interview coaching for the interview is not recommended and easily detected, and may be detrimental to your performance. There are also no quick trick questions. Just be your honest, best self. Receiving an interview is competitive. For 2024 intake, 1,613 applicants submitted an application through both MAP and UAC, and of that, we only interviewed 411. Interviews are scheduled by the end of 2024 and early 2025. Specific interview dates will be available on our Medicine Local application website. We recommend you keep an eye there for the most up-to-date info. Now let's take a look at the application timeline. UKAT ANZ registrations are already open and close on the 17th of May. We recommend booking in your test ASAP. UKAT and MAP applications open early April but don't close until late September. The UKAT exams are sat between July and August. Our open day, which is recommended everyone comes along, is on the 7th of September. And then from November through to January, we conduct our interviews. There is an update to our campus selection process. Local applicants will receive offers to study at our campus, Kensington campus only. Rural places are given to students who apply through the Rural Entry Scheme, which we will go through shortly. Rural applicants will be given offers to either study at our Port Macquarie or Wagga Wagga campuses. We used to talk about applying for bonded and unbonded places. Now everyone is automatically considered for both based on competitiveness. You'll be offered an unbonded place if eligible, otherwise a bonded place if you are still admitted to the degree. Now we go into our special admission schemes, the Gateway Rural, Indigenous and Lateral Entry Schemes. The Gateway Entry Admission Scheme is an alternate entry scheme for applicants that come from a low socioeconomic status background. Applicants have a lower entry requirement to meet. To be eligible for this scheme, you must be an Australian resident, be completing an Australian Year 12 qualification in the year of application, and either attend a gateway school or live in a low socioeconomic area based on the CEFA criteria. Applicants are required to apply with UAC before submitting their UNSW medicine application or applying to sit the UKAT ANZ. Applicants are advised of whether they meet the address criteria for the Gateway Entry Scheme within 24 hours of lodging their application with the University Admission Centre, UAC. If they meet the entry requirement, then they are to follow the standard application process for local applicants. When you submit your application through the Medicine Application Portal, select Gateway Entry Scheme applicant as your applicant type to be considered. There are up to 10 places through the Gateway Entry Scheme. Applications submitted under this scheme that don't meet the criteria will be informed and automatically changed to a standard local applicant. Applicants who have lived in a defined rural area may be considered under the Rural Entry Scheme. Students need to have lived in the defined area for at least 5 consecutive or 10 cumulative years between the ages of 5 and 18. On top of your UAC and selection rank, additional UNSW rurality criteria also applies. When you apply through the Medicine Application Portal, please make sure you select Rural Entry Scheme. Students have lower entry requirements and are interviewed separately, generally at the closest rural clinical campus to your home address. Students who are successful through the Rural Entry Scheme will receive an offer to study at either the Port Macquarie or Wagga Wagga clinical campus. Next is our Indigenous Entry Scheme. Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander students can apply to complete a 3-week residential program, which is the pre-medicine program run through Nurragili, the Centre for Indigenous Programs. In the pre-program, your suitability and aptitude will be assessed for potential entry into the UNSW Medicine program. Successful applicants onto the medicine program, as part of the process, applicants will need to provide high school marks and a personal statement. The UKAT ANZ is not required for this application. Lastly, the Lateral entry scheme is for students studying the UNSW Bachelor of Medical Studies program. Students in their second year of UNSW Bachelor of Medical Science apply as normal. Their core medical science grades are assessed instead of their ATAR and WAM. The top 10 applicants are selected, complete their third year Bachelor of Medical Studies, complete an honours year, then complete the 3 remaining years of the medical program. There are up to 10 places available each year, so it's extremely competitive. Don't choose the medical science degree unless you are passionate about the medical sciences and potential career opportunities. Now we've covered the entry schemes, let's talk about some of the alternate pathways you can take if you aren't successful into getting an offer this intake. If you are confident your ATAR, you can apply next year with the UKAT ANZ and interview. You can get a head start on another degree. Your uni results after at least 1 year of full-time equivalent study will be considered along with your selection rank. Minimum requirements are that your secondary school qualification component must reach at least an ATAR of 96 or 91 for rural. And tertiary studies, a component must reach at least a WAM of 70 or equivalent. Once the applicant has met these requirements, the best of algorithm would apply and the qualification with the highest selection rank would be used as the final selection rank for medicine admission purposes. Note, you will need to sit the UKAT ANZ every subsequent year you apply. If you didn't meet the 96 ATAR out of high school, that means you are not eligible to apply with your secondary results. But you can complete another tertiary degree in any field, and once complete, these results can be used as your selection rank. We recommend you choose a degree you are passionate about so you can succeed and get the highest marks. You can also consider the Lateral entry scheme via the UNSW Bachelor of Medical Science, but as I mentioned on the previous slide, applying for postgraduate medical schools at another university is also an option. We also recommend trying out our clinical or other medical degrees. Getting into medicine is a competitive process, but if you're determined, it shouldn't be a question of if you're going to get in, but when. Next, I get to introduce Kelly, who is in her 4th year of her medicine degree. She's also the current president of MedSoc, our Medicine Student Society. So we're lucky to have her sharing a bit about the other experiences outside of the classroom.
Thanks, Lena. So I know a lot of you here watching tonight are interested in studying our medicine course at UNSW, and perhaps would like to hear about what student life is like while studying at our university. I'll talk to you about our medical society, who we are, what we do, as well as other really fun opportunities that we have. So let's start right off with our medical society. Your MedSoc is the peak representative body for medical students at UNSW, with over 100 volunteers that make up our society. Every medicine student is automatically a member of MedSoc and involved in our community. Our team works directly with our med students to create the absolute best student experience possible. Our MedSoc mission is to improve the medical student experience and medicine as a whole. Every single thing that MedSoc does works towards achieving that goal. So what does that mean and how do we do that? Well, we have 3 pillars. Our first is advocacy. We aim to advocate for the best learning opportunities and curriculum for students. We do this by having a close and trusting partnership with our faculty and are always looking for ways we can improve our program. Our second pillar is experiences. We aim to organise experiences that become lifelong memories for students, ones that represent students and also provide fun ways for them to learn, grow and develop as individuals. And our third pillar is community. We aim to build a fun community where students feel supported, engaged and excited. Because while you may be graduating the program with a degree, As MedSoc, we want to ensure you also graduate with lifelong friends and memories that you will treasure. Now, this may all seem like words on the screen, so let me talk about some of the fantastic opportunities that we have on the show here at UNSW Medicine. Some of our most exciting events include College Cup, social sporting competitions every term, upskilling activities for our budding doctors, and plenty of social events throughout the year. We even have competitions against our faculty, which you can see with our student versus teachers tug-of-war competition on the bottom right of our screen. We also have our special interest groups. These are groups for our medicine students to explore their interests in a particular field of medicine. They include internal medicine, women and children's health, surgery, psychiatry, radiology, dermatology, critical care, and ophthalmology, and so much more. Our special interest groups run some of the really important and awesome events throughout the year, including large conferences, suturing workshops, and clinical skills nights. For those who are creative-minded or want to explore something outside of medicine, we have performing arts groups, including MedShow and Medical Student Music Society. Our MedShow is a performance written, directed, and performed by over 100 hardworking medical students, and they never fail to impress their audience. Medical Music Society has an annual concert as well as jam sessions and bands for those who are musically inclined. At UNSW, we strive to represent and support you the best way that we can. One of the ways that we support mental health and well-being is through our self-care days, where students can take 2 per term to prevent burnout. There is also assessment support, particularly through our MedSoc academics team, who run regular tutorials for students leading up to exams. Our vice presidents also look after the equity, diversity and inclusion portfolios, which include our women's, queer, Indigenous and international officers. So I'd like to end by saying there is so much to look forward to after high school, especially here at UNSW Medicine. It's a vibrant, exciting and endlessly fun world that I would be so honoured to be able to welcome you to. The community and the social events that we really have make a place to look forward to every day. Now I'll teleport to our medicine building on campus to chat with my friend Aiden. See you soon.
I'm here with Aiden in our Wallaceworth study spaces where our medicine students study. Aiden, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name's Aiden and I'm a 4th year medical student. I'm this year's Vice President Inclusivity for MedSoc. What that means is I look after the equity, diversity and inclusivity portfolios that make up our MedSoc Council.
So today we'll be talking about what it's like to be a medicine student here at UNSW and also some of the support services that are available. So we'll start off with MedSoc. Aiden, what are some of the best events that are available out on MedSoc?
Well, there's so many to list over the last few years, but I think if I had to narrow it down, first off, I'd say MedCamp. I think it's a great way to meet new people in your year and to form really close bonds. I'd also say MedShow is a great experience to get involved with. So last year, the production we put on was called Despicable Measles, and there's opportunities to get involved in acting, dance, vocals, and even behind the scenes work as well. And then I think if I had to choose one more, I'd say our Careers in Medicine nights, where you get to meet current doctors and ask them questions and really figure out what your field of interest is going to be.
Amazing. That sounds like there's so many opportunities that are available out there for students. So in terms of affiliate societies or organisations that perhaps extend beyond MedSoc, what are some of those that you've been involved in?
So there's quite a few that are available through MedSoc. So some examples are the Medical Students Aid Project, Medical Outreaches Australia, the Rural and Allied Health and Medical Society, and the General Practice Students Network.
Yeah, so outside of medicine at UNSW and outside of these affiliate organisations, there's also so many opportunities to be involved at ARC in UNSW. So ARC is a student organisation at UNSW that allows you to join multiple different societies. So for example, some of the amazing ones that I love is like Food Lovers Society, where you can get free food, because like who wouldn't want that, right? So there's plenty of opportunities to explore your interests. So for example, if you like sport, you can join a sporting club like the UNSW Basketball Club. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity to really, really look at what you like and also meet people from different societies and also different degrees in UNSW. All right, so now let's talk more about the classroom. Aiden, what are our study spaces and what do they look like?
Well, so the way that UNSW runs its medicine course is the first 2 years are divided into learning about 3 phases of life. Firstly, starting off with beginnings, growth and development and how our body is created. Then looking into health maintenance throughout life, and finally concluding with end-of-life care and looking at how age affects our health and our body. In terms of our classes, I think our main selling point would be our scenario group classes. I think it's really nice to have a group of only 10 to 13 students where you're able to not only enhance your learning, but also make some really close friends as well. And when it comes to our assignments, I think faculty provides us with a lot of guidance, not only in terms of what we need to be including in our assignments, but also what research articles we can start off reading.
Amazing. That sounds so good that there is that support available. So a lot of those students who are watching at home, I'm sure you're wondering, is medicine all about studying? So Aidan, I want to pass over to you and talk a bit about perhaps the work-life balance and if you are able to have a life outside of medicine.
Well, so going into medicine, I think I had this preconception in my mind that all medicine involved was study, study, study. And I'm glad to say now, halfway through my degree, that couldn't be further from the truth. I think there are so many opportunities to get involved with other things that you like outside of just medicine, whether that be sport, music, extracurriculars, or even getting to spend time and relax with friends and family. I think having that work-life balance is really, really important. And I think UNSW Medicine allows students to take advantage of those opportunities that are out there. I know for myself personally, I love playing tennis on the weekends and I love catching up with friends outside of class.
Amazing. That sounds so good. So we're both in our 4th year now. So Aidan and I are doing our honours research projects. So that's a little bit different from our first 3 years of medicine that we've had so far. Aidan, do you want to tell the students a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so my research project is into pediatric gastroenterology. So I'm looking at a condition called eosinophilic esophagitis, which is an autoimmune condition in the throat. And I'm looking at how different interventions affect the microbiome of children with this condition. And so what I'd found is over the years, the amount of days that I'm in on campus really does differ. So for my first 2 years, I was in person on campus around 4 days a week. Then going into 3rd year, I was at campus twice a week and at hospital 3 times a week, which I thought was a really eye-opening experience. And now going into my 4th year, I have a bit more freedom, but I'm also currently taking a visceral anatomy course, which I think is providing me with much needed revision and also setting me up for my final 2 years. What about you, Kelly? What are you studying?
Yeah, so my research project is on tracheoesophageal fistula, and that is focusing on paediatric surgery. So I'm studying over at the Royal Women's Hospital, so in the Randwick precinct, and I find that it's a really, really great way to learn a bit more about a side of medicine that you haven't really touched on before because we haven't looked at much research in our first 3 years. But now being able to dabble in that, and for my advanced course for my honours research project, I'm doing a course on biostats. And what that does is it provides me with the solid foundations that I need in order to learn about the statistics that are required for research. So a lot to look forward to. And I know medicine can be a very daunting aspect in your future, but there's plenty of support services that are available inside UNSW Medicine as well as outside. So within our MedSoc, we have peer mentoring programs. And what that is that older students will choose to mentor younger students, and both of us are peer mentors, so we love that pay it forward culture and being able to look at what we can do to help younger students. Outside of medicine, we also have our UNSW support services, so some of those include wellness supports as well as academic supports. So there's a lot to look forward to. Aidan, I'll pass back to you.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Kelly. I really enjoyed this experience and I hope all of you did as well. I will pass back to Lena now in the studio and we hope to see you on campus very soon.
Thanks, Kelly and Aidan. It's always exciting to hear about MedSoc and just how much students can get up to outside the classroom, and what you've spoken about barely scratches the surface. Now we're going to move into the Q&A. We have lots of questions in the chat and won't be able to get through them all, so please thumbs up any questions you want to hear answered so we can get to those first. Like I said, anything we don't get to tonight, our future student advisors are always happy to answer at any time.
Thanks, Lena. And thank you, Sean, for joining the Q&A today, and Aidan and Kelly for running all the way from Wallisworth Building.
That's all right.
Yeah, we got changed really quickly.
All right, so we've been getting a lot of questions coming through to us today, so please continue to send those questions through. And I may send the first one to you, Sean. So we have a lot of questions about what are we looking for in the interview, and are there any medical related questions in the interview?
Thanks, Anna. That's easy. There are no medical related questions in the interview, and what we're looking for is you, to find out a little bit about you, what you like as a person, what your prior life experience has been. We're not looking to see if you've prepared for the interview or done an interview training course. We're looking for the real you.
Yeah, fabulous. And Aidan, having took the interview before, do you have any advice for the students?
Yeah, I think the best way to approach it is thinking about the fact that once you've been offered an interview, you've already passed the ATAR requirements, you've already passed the UKAT requirement as well. So they're really looking at what is that extra factor that's important for being a doctor. And I think that's being able to communicate with people, to be personable. And like Sean said, there's no real need to do any preparation courses for that. I know for myself personally, I found just sitting down, reflecting on some of my experiences in the past, just collecting my thoughts was the most effective way for me to prepare for the interview.
Yeah, great advice. And now we've been getting some questions around study-work balance through year 12, especially since you sit the UKAT as well. So Kelly, I was wondering if you could share with everyone, how did you balance preparing for the UKAT while studying for the HSC?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the UKAT is quite an important exam, and students will get stressed about having to balance that on top of studying for the HSC. So my best advice would be to have a look at those official resources that they do have on their website, and also try to split up your time studying for your HSC and also with your UKAT practice. So for example, you might spend a bit of time during the evening reviewing over your schoolwork, making sure that you are up to date on all your content, and then spend an hour, for example, working on that UKAT content. But at the end of the day, it is a difficult exam, so do the best that you can, and I'm sure you'll be fine.
Yeah, great. And Aidan, do you have any other advice for taking the UKAT?
I think, like Kelly said, the number one resource is the official UKAT ANZ website. They have question tutorials, question banks, and full mock exams as well. And I think it's the closest approximation to the real exam. And additionally, I think you can do some study on your own as well. So for instance, the verbal reasoning subset primarily focuses on being able to read at speed whilst also comprehending the passages. So practicing that, just looking up science articles, history articles, and making sure you can read them in a short amount of time while still retaining the information can be a great way of practicing.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Aidan. And Sean, another one for you. Bonded and unbonded places. What are the difference?
There's no difference in what you study. There's no difference in whether you get selected into the course. It's an Australian government scheme where they provide support for you, financial support, but in return you pay it back to the government by working after you graduate and after you do the next stage of your training, the fellowship training, in usually a rural or a regional area. And all the information for it is on the Australian federal government website about it.
Yeah, great. And I think sometimes studying rurally can actually be a really wonderful experience and exposure for students as well. So bonded places can also have their benefits.
Well, all of our students get to study rurally, all of our local students, either being totally placed in a rural site or spending some time in a rural site.
Yeah, fabulous. So we have a question here. Do I have to study maths in high school? So I'm assuming this is in the year 11 and 12, so I can take this question. I think it's around assumed knowledge and prerequisites. So Lena mentioned earlier tonight that we don't have any prerequisites at UNSW. So you don't have to have studied a certain subject in high school to be admitted into UNSW. However, we do have some assumed knowledge. For our medicine program, it is assumed that students have at least a band 4 in English, but we also do recommend studying chemistry. Overall, you're going to have some balance of STEM subjects. So if you're wanting to study medicine, we recommend studying what you love, which should be your chemistry, biology, and maths. But if you haven't had that, we do offer bridging courses for you to catch up on. So alongside with that, we've been getting a few questions about what you studied, Aidan and Kelly. So we'll start off with you, Aidan. What subjects did you study in high school?
So in high school, I actually took the International Baccalaureate. So my subject names were a little different, but I studied mathematics, English, business management, sports science, French, and psychology. And so as you'll note, I didn't take chemistry or biology, but luckily UNSW offers bridging courses for both those subjects as we go into uni, and I found those to be quite helpful. And in addition to that, during the foundations course, the first course in first year, they cover quite a lot of the chemistry and biology content, which I found caught me up quite a bit.
Yeah, great. And Kelly, what did you study?
Yeah, so I studied mathematics, English, physics, chemistry, and also PDHPE. So you'll notice that I didn't take biology, and all the things that you do need to know and that you do need to learn will be in your medicine course. So take the subjects that you genuinely enjoy, because those will be the ones that will help you do the best that you can possibly do in your year, and everything else that comes along with medicine you will catch up on anyway.
Okay, great. Now, Sean, we touched on a little bit earlier tonight about the different career opportunities for the graduates of our program, but we're getting questions. Do students usually end up in clinical jobs after studying medicine, or where else can they go?
Yeah, so the majority of our graduates will end up as practicing doctors, whether that's in a general practice, whether it's in a hospital, but not all of them. And when you think about non-clinical jobs, some of them can be doing what I do a lot of the time, which is medical education and teaching the next generation. Some of it can be in policy development, particularly through the public health pathway. And if we think about the last sort of few years when the world has been dealing with the pandemics, it's been the public health physicians who have steered us through. Other non-clinical, well, there's degrees of clinical, and whether it's always just interacting with patients or more, doing pathology where you're in the lab more often, or you can go down the research pathway.
Yeah, great. So lots of options for you to do,
Yeah.
And a lot of things that you'll be learning about in the program once you get into the program and studying with us. So we have a question here, a bit of a motivational one, but because med is such a big decision for you to make and a big time commitment, what was it that made you choose medicine? We'll start with you, Aidan, and how have you kept motivated while studying?
So I think for me, what motivated me to go into medicine was really the wide range of opportunities available. So like Sean was talking about, whether it be clinical practice, research opportunities, opportunities to teach, or even influencing health policy, I think that really appealed to me because I wasn't exactly sure which avenue I wanted to take. And I also wanted the flexibility to be able to change avenues as I got older. And in terms of maintaining motivation, I think maintaining a balanced lifestyle is really important for me. So not just going to my classes 9 to 5, but then also maintaining involvement in extracurriculars, sporting activities, and going out with my friends as well.
I think, Kelly, what made you choose medicine?
So I had a bit of experience in high school volunteering, doing first aid for the community, and I felt that medicine was a really great way for me to continue that going into university. And I also had hospital work experience that I had. So I was lucky enough to have that experience going into university and being sure because I had sort of delved into those fields. But for anyone who perhaps doesn't have any experience at all, you can definitely do some research online, have a read, have a talk to your GP and see if this field is for you. In terms of being motivated and staying in medicine, I find that I feel it is quite a privilege to be able to be in this course and to be able to learn every day. Medicine, as we know, it is a very lifelong course, and to be able to go into a classroom and to find something new that is interesting every single day and without fail is a really wonderful experience, in my opinion. And I do also agree having that balance is really, really important, and finding those opportunities outside of the classroom to maintain that balance, whether it be sports, having those social sporting opportunities outside of the classroom, or continuing the volunteering, which I still do to this day.
All right, so we are running out of time, so we have our final few questions. Sean, we're getting a few students asking about advice because they're tossing up between medicine and other health-related programs such as dentistry, physiotherapy, or optometry. So what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I think it's important to, as you said, they're health-related, and what we're talking about is healthcare. Yes, I'm a doctor, but I'm a healthcare practitioner, and all of these careers, we're all working to maintain and optimize the health of individuals and society as a society overall. And we all work alongside each other. We all have shared goals. what you do as a doctor, what you learn as a doctor is a bit different to what you learn as a physiotherapist, or exercise physiologist, a pharmacist, a nutritionist, an optometrist. But we're all working alongside each other for the same shared goals. And frequently, we're all working in teams together with the same shared goals. So go for the one that you love, but if you don't get into the career that was your number one, some of those number two and number three options in the long run will certainly be just as rewarding and will tick the same boxes.
Yeah, fabulous. Thank you. So my final question, and this will be a question to each of you, will be, what's the best piece of advice that you would give to everyone watching here tonight? So one piece of advice, I'll start with you, Kelly, and then we'll go along.
So I would say my best piece of advice is your work ethic will carry you through year 12, and it's something that extends beyond what you do in your final year of school. So make sure you're being consistent with your work, because that's something that you will still need to keep up in medicine. But at the same time, take care of yourself. Make sure you balance everything. Make sure you're not sacrificing all your hobbies, and that you still do have time outside of studying to focus on yourself. Take those breaks, because you're working hard, and ensure that you are balancing everything as best as you can.
I think for me, in one word, it would be perseverance. I think the journey into medicine is a long one. The journey in medicine is even longer. And I think it doesn't work out for everyone on the first opportunity, for myself included, but I think there are always other options, other avenues into medicine or into other healthcare avenues. And I think being able to have that perseverance becomes a really admirable and useful attribute.
Yeah, and related to what Kelly and Aidan have said, I think it's be prepared to be challenged. You will be challenged. You'll be challenged in your learning. You'll be challenged when you're practicing, but embrace that challenge. And really on the flip side of the challenge is reward. And the reward from this career and even from being a student in medicine is overwhelming, really, the rewards you get.
Amazing. 3 great pieces of advice that I hope that you will take with you after this event. So I'll pass back to Lena now to close the evening. Thank you.
That's all we have time for, but I encourage you to keep the conversation going with us. If you can, come along to our open day on Saturday the 7th of September. And like I said, get in touch with our future student advisors. I want to give a big thank you to Sean, Anna, Kelly, Sarup and Aidan. You've all added so much insight for the people who joined us tonight. And finally, thank you for joining us. We wish you all the very best finishing off your studies this year, and all the best for your applications, and hopefully we'll be seeing you on campus soon enough.